sun was sinking behind the desert rim when the lone rider, Cole Maddox, spotted a trail of buzzards circling above a dry ravine. Out here on the frontier, buzzards meant death or something close to it. His horse snorted uneasily as he rode down the slope, dust rising around him like ghosts, waking from shallow graves. That's when he saw her, a young woman lying half buried in the sand, her dress torn, her skin cracked from sun and fear. Cole slid from his saddle and knelt beside her. She was breathing, but only who's the fragile whisper of life, clinging to her like the last ember in a dying fire. When he touched her shoulder, her eyelids fluttered open. For a moment she stared at him as if she wasn't sure he was real. Then she whispered, "Don't let him find me." Her voice was so faint it could have been mistaken for the wind. Cole's jaw tightened. "Who?" he asked. Her fingers curled weakly around his wrist gold. Trembling, "My father," she breathed, and those two words set the desert sky spinning. Fathers didn't hunt their own daughters, not unless the whole story was soaked in blood. Before Cole could press her for more, she passed out. He lifted her into his arms, feeling how light she was, how close she was to being claimed by the desert. He carried her to an abandoned line shack hidden between ridges. Inside, he wet a cloth, let her drink, and covered her with his coat. Hours passed, the shadows growing long, and the world turning cold. Just before dark settled completely, she stirred again. Her eyes green and bright despite her exhaustion met his with a mixture of fear and desperate hope. "Thank you," she whispered. "What's your name?" He hesitated. Names carried weight out here as more than most. "Cole," he said finally. She nodded slowly. "I'm Elada." When he asked what happened, she told him in halting breaths. She had uncovered something her father had spent years burying. He wasn't a rancher as the world believed. He was the leader of a violent land grab ring, responsible for burning homesteads, killing settlers, and stealing every acre he wanted. When Alara discovered his ledger and the proof of his crimes, she tried to run, but her father sent men after her to silence her forever. The desert nearly finished the job for them. As she spoke, Cole's expression darkened. He knew her father's name. Everyone did. Merrick Vance, a man whose influence stretched across counties, whose reach was long enough to crush anyone who stood against him. And Cole had his own scars tied to that man. He remembered fire-broken bodies, his own brother lying dead in the dust. The memory hit him like a punch. Fate, it seemed, had a twisted sense of timing. Before he could say a word, a distant sound pricked his ears, the unmistakable rhythm of approaching hoofbeats. Cole blew out the small lantern and moved silently to the window. Torches flickered on the distant ridge. Riders. Coming fast. "They found me," Elara whispered, voice breaking. Cole turned to her, eyes cold as steel. "Not while I'm breathing." He armed himself with a quiet efficiency born from years of living just one step ahead of death. As the riders approached, he led Alara through a narrow passage behind the shack and to a hidden washout. "Stay down," he ordered. She reached for his hand. "Cole, if I don't survive, promise me you'll bring the ledger to the marshal." He stopped. Her voice shook as she whispered, "My father killed your brother." The words cut through him deeper than any bullet could. She had seen it, she had witnessed the murder and carried the guilt ever since. That was the whisper that changed everything. The truth she feared would die with her in the sand. Cole swallowed hard, jaw locked in pain and rage, but the look he gave her wasn't hatred. It was the look of a man who had finally found the thread that tied his past to his purpose. "You're not dying tonight," he said. Gunfire erupted outside as the riders reached the shack. Cole moved like a force of nature, silent, swift, ruthless. He took them by surprise, striking from the shadows with deadly precision. The desert lit up with muzzle flashes as a one-man war raged under the starlit sky. When the dust finally settled, only silence remained except for the soft breaths of Alara waiting in the washout. Cole returned to her, blood on his knuckles, determination blazing in his eyes. He helped her stand carefully. "Your father wants war," he said, "and now he's got it." She looked up at him, eyes full of fear and something else, real trust. For the first time, she wasn't alone, and neither was he. Cole lifted her onto his horse, swung up behind her, and wrapped an arm firmly around her. The night wind brushed past them as they rode out, toward the distant marshal's post toward justice, vengeance, and a storm that neither of them could outrun anymore. The desert had tried to kill her, but her whisper had awakened a force far deadlier than the man hunting her. It had awakened Cole Maddox,